So good afternoon, everybody at Wild West Hackin Fest. Thank you for taking time out of your day to choose to see a presentation about a tiny little script that'll help you fix stuff with Active Directory certificate services. My name is Jake Hildreth. I am a senior security consultant at Trimarc. And who am I and why should you listen to me? I am a guy that's been in technology for over 20 years. Did a couple years in help desk for the at-home cable modem conglomerate, then moved on to a tiny little managed security services provider, in which I had a mentor there that kind of taught me that good security is synonymous with operational excellence. And then after that, I moved on to did 16 years in local government working as a quote unquote network administrator. I actually planned to retire there, but I spent the last half of my tenure there undoing all of the stuff that my predecessors had done to Active Directory. And through that, got a really deep understanding of Active Directory and security around it. Then in May 2021, I saw a tweet from Sean Metcalf that read, "If you have been managing Active Directory or Azure AD in an operations role and are trying to figure out how to shift to a role in security, my DMs are open." I contacted him immediately, poured my heart out, and then a couple months later was working for Trimarc. I do work. I'm considered a subject matter expert on our Active Directory security assessment. And then, of course, most primarily, I consider myself a husband and a dad, but a blue teamer at heart. And that's why I created Locksmith. I just want to protect. So since you're sitting here listening to a guy speak remotely about ADCS, I'm going to assume that you have some knowledge about what it is. But going to touch a little bit, quick primer, just in case you're not aware. Microsoft, ADCS is Microsoft's version of public key infrastructure. It's been part of the Active Directory suite of services since Active Directory's initial release in 2000. And it is incredibly popular because it is incredibly easy to set up. Literally anybody can have a single tier PKI stood up in their environment in about 10 minutes by clicking next a bunch of times and finish. And it's usually used for secure communications between domain controllers, file encryption, secure email, encrypted LDAP, etc. We're not going to talk about any of that today. What we're going to talk about instead is issues surrounding certificate-based authentication and how that can be abused. Why is ADCS so easy to screw up? Well, it takes the notoriously easy to configure PKI and combines it with the notoriously easy to configure Active Directory, and, well, that's where we are. So this is the state of ADCS research and how it's being used. In the before times, which I call before certified pre-owned, there was a smattering of articles all across the internet that would teach you how to abuse ADCS in this little way, in this little way, in this little way. SpectreOps came along, condensed all that into a breezy 143-page beach read called Certified Pre-Owned. And suddenly the world of certificate services exploitation really exploded. Shortly after that was released, I joined Trimarc, and we were discussing, let's start doing some ADCS checks. And I volunteered because I am not smart. And then now I'm the ADCS guy that I did not expect to be. Then in April 20th, 2022, this year, Mandiant revealed that APT29 is using some of the techniques described in Certified Pre-Owned. And we have also had at Trimarc several pen testing firms, comment how they are now using ADCS vulnerabilities all the time to get quick wins. So what types of vulnerabilities are we actually discussing here? Well, the most common one, it's not really an authentication issue at all. It is the lack of auditing. Why is there a lack of auditing? It seems like this would be easy to do. Well, out of the box, ADCS auditing is completely disabled. You have to manually go and turn it on. And you have to manually turn it on every single box that is hosting a certificate authority. If you miss one, you're vulnerable. And then even if you do have it applied on every single certificate authority, in order to really do full auditing, it requires an additional 2 GPOs to be set. So in the time that we've been assessing ADCS through Trimarc, I have seen exactly 0 environments where auditing has been properly enabled, which then means that the next few issues that we're talking about here will never be identified and never detected. Speaking of those, the next most common thing is definitely overly permissive ACLs. Active Directory can be tough. And especially in setting up things that are a little weird, like certificates. I know most sysadmins just run away from certificates. I was the same way for quite a while. It's incredibly easy to give low privilege users privilege to modify templates to whatever they need to be, or modify various objects in your PKI to maintain persistence. And then we move into some dangerous situations. I call these dangerous because they are essentially one step to domain compromise. And they are each dangerous in their own very fun way. The first is more common, and it basically allows a low privilege user to request a certificate using a subject alternative name of any other security principal in your domain. So you want to be a DA, be a DA. You want to be a DC, go for it. We got you. And then the other type of dangerous template is you can just request to be a CA. You can request to be your own certificate authority, which then allows you to create new certificates that are just trusted by Active Directory by default. And then the last bullet here was incredibly dangerous, and it's been somewhat mitigated as of May. There's a flag that, if set on a certificate authority, will basically change every template that a user is allowed to enroll in. It gives them the capability to set a subject alternative name on that template during the request. Like I said, it's been partially mitigated since May. There are still some edge cases where that can be abused, but it's less common. So with all of those in mind, I wanted to do something about this. Like I said, blue teamer at heart. I see a problem. I want to protect people from it. So Locksmith can help with that. Locksmith will scan your ADCS environment. It'll find stuff that's bad, and then it'll report on it. But Jake, we already have multiple tools to do this. PS, PKI audit, Certify, Certify. They all already do that. What makes Locksmith different? Well, I'm going to make it easy for you to remediate your issues instead of just reporting on them. And with that, we're just going to move right into the demo. Let's go ahead and get switched over here. All right. Got my demo machine logged into a DC as a normal user because I am very secure. And I was smart and actually like pre-wrote my commands so I wouldn't screw up. All right, we are now in my Locksmith demo environment. And we are going to set our execution policy to bypass because, again, I am very good at security. And we're just going to run Locksmith and show you what it looks like in default mode. First off, collecting all of the various ADCS objects in your forest. Currently, Locksmith just looks at your local forest and reports on it. Oh, we've got one of our 4 certificate authorities does not have auditing fully enabled. Oh, we got someone that can request client authentication without by using a SAN and not getting manager approval. We got a lot of issues here, but that's it. My test environment is very small. Like I said, 87 objects. On larger environments, it's not much. It doesn't take much longer because there's really not a ton of objects that we are going to be scanning through. But as you can see, we've got one template where people can try to become a sub CA. We've got some templates where the work from home staff appears to have full control rights. And yeah, we've got a weird, an object down here, this horse CA that users can somehow modify. And then lastly, that dangerous tag that I was speaking about here, we could see that one of our CAs has that dangerous flag set. So let's clear this out. We don't need to see this again. So that's all fine and dandy. You've got that. I didn't really that information not super useful for remediating anything. So instead, let's invoke in mode 1. Again, we see we're capturing all of our ADCS objects. And this is designed to run in basic mode, where you're just reporting, designed to run as a normal user. Active Directory's blessing and curse is the fact that it's open, but it does allow you to not have to elevate or increase privilege in order to at least do an audit of your system. So what it's doing now is writing out to a CSV file. And I have to apologize in advance. I have not installed any good CSV viewer on this machine. Let's pour one out for Excel viewer. I miss it so much. But now we have a CSV file indicating what forest something was found, what specific object is an issue, and what the issue is. You can import that into whatever system you need to help you keep track of it. And that's all good. But what this still requires you to figure out how to resolve these issues on your own. So that's why we're in mode 2. At this point, this is getting pretty old to look at. We're collecting some objects, etc. We then identify the objects. And then we're going to write it out to another CSV file. Ooh, writing slow for some reason. Okay, we are done. Let's do. All right. So first three columns, the same: forest, distinguished name, issue. But here at the end, I've now been able to spit out a one line that should resolve your issue. In the situations that we have here, where users can request a certificate with a subject alternative name without manager approval, the code will remove that manager approval. Same thing for the sub CA certificate. As you can see, I have not. My code around fixing ACL issues is a little not working, so that is on my to-do list. But yeah, and then here we could just easily reset the flags that are dangerous, and then force a restart on the ADCS service. So again, that's great. That I feel is probably going to be the most useful mode for most people. This is targeted for obviously a small shop that's one guy that's probably overwhelmed and overworked. That's who I was. So that's kind of who I write tools for. But imagining me as that person, I would want someone to just come in and fix the issue for me. So I created mode 3. And one more time, gathering ADCS objects. What am I doing on time? Oh, running behind. Okay. Okay. Yep. So we can see I did not run this as an AD admin or a local admin on the CA hosts. So yeah, you can't make any changes with that situation. So let's go ahead and elevate. I have to look at my keyboard because I can never type this one properly on its own. Okay. Let's go ahead and invoke Locksmith in mode 3. I promise you, this is the last time we're going to see this collecting ADCS objects. Okay. Successfully enabled everything. So that is pretty much the tool in a nutshell. So let's flip back. So there's some things I still need to do in Locksmith. Passing parameters is fine, but let's just build a menu out. Error handling right now, it was built as an internal tool, or this came out of an internal tool in which pretty much only I can handle properly. So need to improve error handling so that way it makes a little more sense. Multi-forest support in modern enterprise environments, we've got trusts on trusts on trusts. Going into each environment and running this tool would be annoying. So plans to feed a list of forests to it, and then given enough or proper permissions, should be able to at least report. The auditing GPOs are incredibly important. I currently just warn you that those need to be set, which is not best. I would like to instead alert you if they do not exist only. As I mentioned before, the remediation of ACL issues is much harder than I expected to do properly. As far as methods to remediate those dangerous templates, I use manager approval right now as my default. But there are other options. We could, reduce who can enroll in a in a template. We could eliminate the ability to add a subject alternative name. A lot of options. Like to give that option to the user. And then lastly, don't want to waste your time by, running and failing, especially in larger environments if you were not an admin. So we'll check for elevation before attempting to actually fix anything. So that's pretty much it. That's Locksmith. These are how you can get a hold of me if you are interested in assisting or just want to talk about whatever. I am most active on Twitter. And then if you want to scan that QR code, by all means, please do. It just goes to my link tree. So, and yeah, please stop by the Discord. I am monitoring it right now from my home, and would love to chat with you there about how Trimarc can help you out. Getting your AD house in order. So that's it. Thanks to all y'all that came to see this. Special thanks to Black Hills, the whole Black Hills cinematic universe, Anti-Siphon and Wild West Hackin Fest and all of those. Special thanks to John Strand, who, without his Pay What You Can courses, I wouldn't have had the confidence to leave the job that I had to join the wild world of the private sector. And then, of course, thanks to Sean and the rest of the Trimarc crew on the ground out there in Deadwood. Daryl, Jim, Danny, shout out. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Okay. Jake, can you hear me now? By any
I can
chance?
hear you now. Yes,
Very
I
good.
can.
Well, you had a question. Go ahead.
Question was, are you concerned about, since the PKI is so advanced, are you concerned about people running this, potentially making changes to their environment that potentially could stop the PKI from working?
Here, I'll actually just let you ask, Jake.
All right, thank you. First off, thank you for the presentation.
Close to you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
First off, there we go. Can you hear me
I
good
can
now?
hear you great. Yep.
Thanks. So the question is PKI, especially ADCS, is really complicated, and I know my clients, will have dozens of vulnerable templates, and making some of these changes can be very impactful and potentially knock out the PKI certificates from working potentially. Are you trying to design Locksmith in such a way that the changes hopefully will be really minimal and not take down any of the connections?
Right. And that's the manager approval thing. To me, I've always been amazed that anybody has any certificates offered without manager approval. And that to me is the least impactful. Unfortunately, it adds a bit of extra work to your PKI admins, and I don't like adding extra work to anybody. That's why I want to add those additional options on methods of fixing these issues. I mean, obviously, if you can reduce the number of users that can request these dangerous templates, that's going to help a ton.
Any other questions? Is that good? Any other questions for Jake before we let him go? No? All right. Thanks, Jake. Did a great job. Cheers. Sorry we couldn't have you here.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, y'all.